In the golden age of territorial wrestling, one name stood as a pillar of the industry in America's heartland: Leroy McGuirk, a promoter whose influence shaped professional wrestling for decades. This is the story of his empire, his vision, and his lasting legacy. Leroy Michael McGuirk was born on October 4, 1910, in Muskogee, Oklahoma. From humble beginnings, he would rise to become one of the most powerful figures in professional wrestling, but not at first as a promoter. McGuirk was a legitimate amateur wrestling standout, winning the NCAA championship at Oklahoma A&M in 1931. His technical skill and competitive spirit carried him into professional wrestling by the mid-1930s. Unlike the growing theatrical style of the era, McGuirk was known for scientific, credibility-driven wrestling. He competed throughout the Midwest and Southwest, building a reputation as a serious athlete. Then in 1950, everything changed. A tragic automobile accident left Leroy McGuirk blind. For most men, that would have ended a wrestling career. For McGuirk, it marked a transformation. Unable to compete, McGuirk turned his attention to promotion. He had connections, credibility, and a deep understanding of the business. In the early 1950s, he began promoting wrestling shows across Oklahoma and neighboring states. At the time, professional wrestling operated under the territory system, the country divided into regional markets, each controlled by a promoter with exclusive rights. McGuirk quickly mastered this system. By the mid-1950s, he controlled Oklahoma, Arkansas, and parts of Louisiana and Missouri. His operation, known as Tri-State Wrestling, became one of the most respected territories within the National Wrestling Alliance. The NWA unified regional promotions and coordinated talent movement, and McGuirk was one of its most trusted members. His territory became a proving ground for rising stars and a reliable stop for champions traveling the circuit. The 1960s and early 1970s were the golden years of McGuirk's promotion. Packed houses filled arenas in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Little Rock, and Shreveport. McGuirk had a sharp eye for talent and an even sharper sense of psychology. He knew how to build feuds, structure cards, and keep fans coming back week after week. NWA World Heavyweight champions like Lou Thez, Dory Funk Jr., and Harley Race defended their titles in his territory. But the heart of Tri-State Wrestling was its regional stars, especially Danny Hodge. Danny Hodge became the face of McGuirk's territory. Born in Perry, Oklahoma in 1932, Hodge was one of the greatest amateur wrestlers America ever produced. He won 3 NCAA championships at the University of Oklahoma without losing a single match and captured a silver medal at the 1956 Olympics. When Hodge turned professional in 1959, McGuirk immediately recognized what he had: a legitimate athlete who embodied credibility. Hodge's technical precision made his matches feel authentic, but he also understood storytelling. He could build drama, sell for opponents, and connect with crowds. He held the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship for 8 consecutive years, making him a constant main event draw. His grip strength became legendary, crushing apples, bending steel, stories backed by documented measurements. Hodge wasn't a gimmick. He was real. The territory system thrived on unforgettable feuds, and McGuirk delivered. Hodge's rivalry with the Destroyer in the early 1960s became one of the greatest in regional wrestling history. The masked villain versus the clean-cut All-American drew record crowds and defined classic heel versus babyface storytelling. McGuirk also understood television. His weekly wrestling program aired throughout the territory, building anticipation for live events. TV wasn't the payoff, it was the hook. Shorter matches, unresolved finishes, and heated promos drove fans to buy tickets. Behind the scenes, McGuirk earned a reputation for fairness. Wrestlers were paid on time and treated with respect, rare in the territorial era. That integrity created loyalty and stability. Another cornerstone of the territory was Grizzly Smith, a rugged, versatile performer who could work as either hero or villain. Smith's adaptability allowed McGuirk to plug him into multiple programs, including a dominant tag team run with Luke Brown. Together, they held the Tri-State Tag Team Championships and fueled a thriving tag division that added depth and variety to the cards. Smith's influence extended beyond his own career. His son, Jake the Snake Roberts, grew up immersed in the business, absorbing lessons that would later define one of wrestling's greatest minds. One of McGuirk's most important proteges was Bill Watts. A former football player with intensity and size, Watts became a main event fixture in the 1960s and 70s. His feuds with the Sheik and Killer Carl Cox were brutal, bloody, and controversial, but they drew massive crowds. McGuirk saw Watts' potential beyond the ring and trained him as a booker. Watts learned how to structure feuds, build stars, and maximize drawing power. By the mid-1970s, he was handling much of the day-to-day booking. But no empire lasts forever. By the mid-1970s, cable television, economic downturns, and aggressive expansion from other promotions began to erode the territory system. Oklahoma was hit hard by the oil crisis, and attendance declined. McGuirk responded by cutting back on smaller towns and focusing on major markets. Still, the business was changing faster than anyone could control. Compounding the challenge was McGuirk's blindness. He relied heavily on trusted associates to describe crowd reactions and performances. While respected, the physical and mental toll was immense. In 1979, McGuirk stepped back and sold the territory to Bill Watts. Watts rebranded it as Mid-South Wrestling, which would explode in popularity during the early 1980s. Stars like Ted DiBiase, Jim Duggan, and the Junkyard Dog emerged from a system built on McGuirk's foundation. Leroy McGuirk passed away on October 3, 1988, one day before his 78th birthday. By then, the territorial system was collapsing under national expansion. But McGuirk's legacy remains. His philosophy of credibility, psychology, and fairness shaped generations of wrestlers and promoters. The argument-driven storytelling, long-term feuds, and television-based promotion that define modern wrestling all trace back to territories like his. When historians discuss the Golden Age, McGuirk's name stands alongside Sam Muchnick and Eddie Graham, not the biggest empire, but one of the most respected. Leroy McGuirk represented the best of what wrestling could be. A survivor, a visionary, a man of integrity in a ruthless business. His territory may be gone, but his influence lives on. Every time a wrestler learns the fundamentals, every time a promoter builds a compelling feud, every time a packed house believes in what they're watching. This has been the story of Leroy McGuirk's Wrestling Territory, a tale of ambition, perseverance, and the golden age of professional wrestling. Thank you for watching. In future episodes, we'll dive deeper into the legendary feuds that define this territory, the brutal battles, the unforgettable rivalries, and the stories behind the matches that packed arenas across the heartland. We'll explore the memories and moments that made tri-state wrestling a cornerstone of the Golden Age. Subscribe and stay tuned for more from the territorial era.